You talking about, your life changing. This is where people have met their life partner.
Yeah.
They were looking for somebody like them, weirdo or not, and they found someone like them in the community. And now we have, second and almost third generation burners. That means I'm that old.
I went to Ellen's house when I flew in, and she's like, oh, yeah, Sid taught in Japan. I was like,
yeah,
what
that
now?
Little rambunctious kid.
The 9-year-old?
Yeah. I know. Now you see all these kids are having kids that, started with the burn world. And it's pretty cool that, you now have a chosen family, and you may meet your life partner at one of these communities. So I don't know the experience in other regionals. I hope they have the same kind of experience of getting together and creating community. And we've done everything for each other, help each other with jobs. We've helped each other through, health issues, financially.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's a really cool thing when you can find community, and then that community gives back to you without an expectation of something in return. Well, that's the burner way.
Yeah. And it's weird because, it's a Burning Man event, but, kind of, but not really. It's its own thing. Yeah, some people did some cool stuff, and then, people went and rolled with it. So, people think of regionals sometimes kind of cookie cutter, oh, this is a Burning Man event, so there's going to be a thing in the center, it's going to be a ring, it's going to do this thing, it's blah, 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 and it's kind of paint by numbers, but Flipside has never been that.
I'm D-Day. I'm Xeno.
I'm Rex.
I'm Beth.
And this is Accuracy
Third.
What a relief it is to be in season 6. If I recall correctly from you telling me just a moment ago, this episode is the second part of Xeno going to Flipside and talking to people.
Exactly.
One other thing that I wanted to just genuinely ask you about. So you went out there and had a great time this year. What was your highlight of Flipside this year?
Well, for one thing, having daddy issues go to an event that she liked.
Yay!
She did DPW twice for Burning Man, and she was underwhelmed with an exclamation point. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think that if I had gone to Burning Man when it was, the way it is now-ish with 70,000 people and the structure that it was, I would have probably been underwhelmed too. And so
a lot of throwing her right into DPW from the jump.
Well, the DPW part is what she liked. The event itself was not great, but she was also grievously wounded both times. Mm-hmm. So, she couldn't get around much.
And also there when you're DPW is so inside, that it's hard not to pick up that
fuck the event, blah blah blah. But we're overstating it. Definitely.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely largely a joke. DPW clearly does it because they love it. But I'm sure that colored her experience.
Yes, definitely. The other thing, I don't have a specific interaction or thing, but what I took away is that I have so many ideas for what I want to do next year.
Nice.
A ton, and I know that they're executable. I've started some of the projects.
Inspiring.
Yes. Yeah, and the thing with DPW is it's a great community, but ultimately you're building someone else's project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what Flipside really does, especially with a smaller size, is you can do a dumb little project and everyone's going to see it.
And have it impact everyone who is here.
Okay, so here's one thing that I really loved was it's our first day. We were walking down the street and there's this dude that had all of these I don't know what you would call sprouts, I guess, of this specific plant that he loved. Mm-hmm. And he grew them in his backyard. He just had a bunch of them with compostable pots. And he was giving them to people. I don't think he had ever been to an event. Mm-hmm. I think that he saw some of the literature and was like, oh, bring a gift.
This is a gift I have.
Yeah. And he was like, oh, do you want a drink? And he had these store-bought Costco frozen margarita sticks or whatever. I'm like, yeah, sure. And we took a couple sips. I was like, oh, this is disgusting. But as much as that's not my thing, it was really beautiful to see his genuine passion for these specific little plants. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to take that home, but I'm really glad that he showed up and did it. So that's a little bit more inspiring. It's not a big thing, but it's just something that touched me.
It's lovely. And then in the absolute opposite direction, what was your low light? Like, where was it? Where did it suck? Where did it hurt? Like, if there's a moment where you're like, had despair and frustration that you're willing to share with us.
Well, it's weird because I like being angry. So this isn't necessarily a low light.
This is the moment when you got your wish.
So Wonder Lounge, I've camped with them at the Big Burn in I want to say 2005, and I've camped with them when I've flown in to Texas and just needed a place to stay. And they've always been super welcoming, but it's not like my camp. They're not my people. I didn't go to planning meetings. I didn't do any of their work weekends.
You're a parasite. It's understandable.
Yeah. No, and several people are, and like proudly so. I showed up and I did help them assemble everything. I was like, point me in a direction, I'll fucking do it. Like, I've put their tent up before, so I knew some of the things that are like tricky about putting that tent up. So I did, I contributed a lot. I was like, hey, like, I'm flying in. I barely have any stuff, but like, I'd like to play music. And they're like, yeah, sure. And so they got me in contact with the person that had equipment, and like, yeah, it's going to be all set up. It's going to be totally fine. So I showed up, and, a week before, I was like, so are people like reserving time to play music? And the person that is running Wonder Lounge is like, sounds like you are now.
Yeah.
Fuck, you fucking did it to me. All right. So like, I got like a sign up sheet. No one emailed me ahead of time. Like, no one signed up for anything, but I had the infrastructure in place. And if you signed up for a time slot, I'd totally enforce it. No one did. That's not totally true. So Wonderland is like the largest space-wise theme camps. They had like, I don't know, I want to say like 40 people. It's like one of the larger camps. And a lot of those are people that I don't know. And so this dude came up and was like, hey, so-and-so told me that you're the guy to talk to for reserving DJ slots. And I'm like, yeah, I have the sign up right here. Someone's doing it, yeah. And he was like, so like no one signed up? I was like, yeah, no, go to town. And he's like, 11 p.m. for a couple hours? I was like, yeah, sure. He's like, well, what about tomorrow? I was like, yeah, there you go. And so he just signed up for the entire event. And I was like, well, that's cool. And then later found out, like, he's not a part of our camp. He was just a guy. And God bless him.
DJ Just a Guy.
DJ Lady Vitamins.
Wow.
And he was like, I will bring the party. I was like, I will not be a part of the party.
I will back away from the party.
I'm sure you will love it, and I'm sure it'll be a thing that people will enjoy, and I will probably take a walk. That's totally fine. I know how to move away from the things I don't like and not shit on them, believe it or not. So he did his thing, and he did bring the party, and it was awesome. But like other people would come up and be like, hey, could you play this? And hand me a phone.
Oh yeah, of course.
And I'd be like, sure, plug it in. They're like, it doesn't have an audio jack. I'm like, okay, well, no. And they get pissed off at me, and I'm like, I'm just the guy that sets up the time. Like,
I don't have your phone. Yeah. Why would I have your dongle?
Yeah, like, go home and buy a phone that respects you as a fucking person. Get one with a fucking audio jack.
I was planning on getting a Pixel 6a, but now I ain't.
Yeah, and so I didn't monopolize it. Some people may say that I did. But if someone came up and was like, I want to play stuff, I'd be like, I'd unplug it from my laptop and hand them the thing because, it's not my camp. I'm just doing my thing. And so many people just couldn't deal with that, but also didn't like what I was playing. Mm-hmm. So I never play the same genre back to back. And yeah,
you really are a little bit of a train wreck DJ.
Yeah, no. I love what I do, and other people do too. The thing is, people don't come en masse around me and jump up and down and go woo. So people, I like to call them dog people, because people that are dog people need something that's slobbering and jumping over them and fucking barking to demonstrate that they like a thing. And that's stupid. I'm a cat person.
Yeah, I need a fleshy cat to crawl up underneath my shirt and purr against my sternum so I know that it will die if it does not absorb my heat.
Well, you got a broken cat on purpose.
I did. Thank you.
And so I literally had people from surrounding camps like come run up and be like, oh my God, I'm so happy with what you're doing. And then leave. Now, the people that were at the bar are like, dude, our theme camp isn't doing the thing that theme camps should do, which is have a bunch of people dance. You need to change. And I'm like, no, you need a phone that works. So there was some conflict with that. But also, I've been dealing with these conversations for literally 20 years. And I'm a heavyweight boxing champion with this conversation. And these are noodle-armed little...
Look,
pieces
they haven't been doing their jumps rope.
Yes.
Jumps rope?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's like a attorneys general.
Mm-hmm.
I see. Like Johns Hopkins.
You don't just jump one. I can jump rope. I can't jumps rope, but I can do one or two.
This has become problematic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. So, but like, I played some Insane Clown Posse, and
As you
literally had like several people come up and be like, "Oh my god, I never thought I'd hear Insane Clown Posse at a burn event." And I'm like, "These are the people I'm playing music for." You can hear dance music everywhere.
Yep.
Like,
And you
that's
do.
fine. And you do. And have I ever gone up to a rave camp and said your music sucks, turn it off? Yes, maybe once. But like generally no. Generally no.
But they were playing it at me.
Right.
It was very aggressive.
They knew that I didn't like it and they played it anyway.
And you know what you did? You spared yourself risking the worst embarrassment a DJ can have, which is playing a hot dance set to an empty dance floor.
Right. Well, and I did actually. I had a few sets where I was like, okay, it's just going to be hip hop now, and then we're just going to do punk rock for like an hour each. And the hip hop people did get up and fucking dance and fucking whatever. I was like, you see, guys, I can do it.
I don't on
Just
purpose.
don't like to. So the conflict with my campmates, it wore on me. I didn't want to make a person that was a part of Wonder Lounge for many years and probably put more work into it than I did feel like I was shitting on them, but I wasn't going to back down. Because I can go through the 10 principles and tell you why I can do this.
Yeah, you find some immediacy in a dongle, and this is all yours.
You principles lawyer, you.
Yes. The principles are why I got accepted at burn events. Like, and that comes through with Sparky's interview. It's very quiet and very subtle. But he mentions about a certain theme camp getting drowned out and how people got over it and learned some things. That was me. And people were very angry at me. Like, supremely angry. I lost friendships over it, and some people never came back to the event.
There was
Sounds like a Xeno interaction. Congratulations.
I wasn't happy about it, but I also, on the email list, I was like, every single concern you have, I'll answer respectfully and directly. And if you feel like I haven't addressed it completely, I will go over it again. And I did. So many people emailed me, and I addressed every single one. And they may not have been happy about it, but at least I addressed them.
Xeno, thanks so much for gathering this audio for us.
Sure. Thanks for giving me the hardware to do it. I figured it out kind of quickly.
You did
We
good.
vaguely trust you.
It's only a couple buttons.
And thanks, of course, to the patrons who let us send mobile recording stuff around the country.
Content warning for this episode. We do talk about suicide a tiny bit for a short time. Well, we don't. Xeno does. But that's that. This episode, we are talking to Grandma and Alexa, and there is a separate interview with Sparky that Xeno does as well. I hope you all enjoy it.
All aboard!
The camp I'm in there is kind of like the camp of Burning Man. But they bring in, intentionally try to bring in movers and shakers who may help, not really promote, but stimulate the artist experience internationally. So, for instance, they invite curators of museums.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and believe it or not, they were successful in getting the National Academy of Arts or one of the National Art Institute to support burner type art, which is, with grants, because, they usually funded more traditional art, sculpture, painting, that kind of thing. And Burning Man was like, well, this is just another art form we need to look at, fire art. And they were successful in getting that entity to support our kind of art. which is because they were doing this ambassadorshipping, trying to bring in these curators. So when you're on the car, we had a museum curator from the Contemporary Arts Museum in Louisville. So anyway, this museum curator came to Burning Man, and we took him out on a ride. And I got talking to him, and he said, yeah, we're going to do an installation of burner art. And I said, well, hey, do us a favor. And when you hire the crew to paint and build displays, cases and stuff, try to hire burner craftsmen, not just your usual craftsmen.
Nice.
And he did. He put the call out through the local burner community there in the museum area, and they got people to come out, and they were burners who do things out at Burning Man, you know, with their skills. He told me the next year, he goes, man, that was awesome to have them in there. They felt very focused and proud to build the displays, so when the art came in, it had a place to, you know, sit. And
So-
that's what happens in that camp at Burning Man. We try to curate or reach out to the outside world that, you know, burners and burner artists are not wacky.
Yeah.
You know?
So, you are Sparky.
Yes.
I'm Xeno.
And welcome to Camp.
And we're at Camp, which is a camp about camping, I think, right?
Pretty much.
What was the history of that?
Well, the history of the camp started with folks who were working, the board members and other people working the very first Flipsides, which was the first regional burn in the world. So we just all kind of gravitated and camped together and became kind of the core of the energy. So it was kind of natural for us just to camp together.
Yeah, you have all the paperwork. You don't want to walk too far
Right.
to talk to the person that had talked to the sheriff before.
Exactly.
And like,
Yeah,
you
we
dot
could
your
all
eyes and
talk department to department or manager to manager, basically. And camp was formed, and it's been a camp at Flipside ever since. Now we kind of think of it as a gated community of retired managers and workers of.
That's when y'all let me camp with you.
Come on in. You earned it.
Awesome. So yeah, this is for Accuracy Third. It's a podcast. I don't know if have you listened to Accuracy Third?
Unfortunately, I don't do a lot of podcast listening, so
It's fine. A buddy of mine, I've known for about 20 years, honestly, but like before I did DPW. He started a podcast, and he's just kind of collecting stories from burning folk at Burning Man and doing stuff like that. And since I'm at Flipside, I was like, I don't know, send me a recorder. Maybe I'll get some stories or like some insight into some regional stuff.
Well, I've always known you around music and sound equipment, so this is a natural progression for you, for sure. And, you know, to help your listeners understand, we're sitting under what we call the Pecan Grove Playa, the current generation of land that we're using that can accommodate the size of the event. We were fortunate to find some land that has pecan trees. These are old-growth pecans that have been here for quite some time. And so about 60-65% of the entire camp space is under shade, which you need in Texas.
Oh, yeah. I
So-
feel it like the second I walk out of my tent. There's like a tree and there's like tents just circling the base of the tree because like that's where the shade is.
Yeah, that's really a pleasant thing, but it's also been on occasion a curse. Several years back, and pardon me for not remembering years,
2014, 15?
maybe 14 or 15.
I think I was there the year that.
we had the tree collapse is what we called it. Pecan trees, for some reason, sometimes will just give it up and fall over. So after some good rains that occurred during the Memorial Day weekend, which is kind of traditional, we usually get washed out at least once during the camp out, this tree decided to give it up, and it gave it up on burn night of all times, right before the burn, you know, the whole process of starting the burn.
That was
And-
right next to Camp, right?
Yeah, it was, they were right next door to Camp. And this gigantic tree fell over. Fortunately, no one was injured, but we had a lot of property damage, vehicles, etc. But the founder of Flipside, St. Tiki, he was sleeping or napping in his tent, and a branch fell over his tent and squashed half the tent where he was not sleeping, thank God.
I didn't know that.
And he was kind of trapped in there. So I'm with the Pyropolis Fire Department, our fire team, and we were called to action to go deal with the situation, and we discovered he was the only person inside the canopy of this tree. So interesting enough, and the way it is, the burner way, volunteers popped up, and 2 people showed up that are professional arborists and sawyers. They saw trees professionally, and they showed up with all their equipment. I mean, they were decked out with helmets and everything. And they said, can we help? And I said, well, go in with a firefighter and look at any problem areas. We don't want more collapsing.
Yeah, you don't want to cut something and then make it worse.
Yeah, make it worse,
yeah.
right. And so these volunteers jumped in there and they go, yeah, don't cut over here, let's cut over here. So they put some orange tape, so don't touch this. Then they made a few cuts and we got George out. And
I was there that year and I had no idea that was George.
Yeah, kind of a little back up on the story. The fire team was actually getting prepared for the burn.
Yeah.
And we all turned our radios off so we could talk.
Oh,
so we never heard the call out.
Uh-huh.
So other volunteers were running, medical and other people were running to the incident. And we're like, why is all these people running? And next thing we know, Khaki, the ranger, comes over and says, hey, y'all got something going on over there. And we turn our radios on and we start hearing all this. Holy crap. So we ran over there and, managed the incident. And basically just tried to, after we got St. Tiki out, we made it safe. And then went on back to the burn.
Is
George, yeah.
And he basically started Flipside.
Yeah, he started Flipside.
For people that don't know.
He had been a long-time Burning Man participant and decided, why are we just doing this once a year? Why can't we do this year-round? And he approached the Burning Man organization and said, you mind if we do something back in Austin? And they were like, no, that's great. That's kind of how it started, the concept started, and then he put out a call to people in Austin. Hey, have you been to Burning Man? Or are you curious about Burning Man? We're going to get together and meet, talk about.
And that was at Recreation Plantation.
Yeah, that was our first location. So Burning Man was kind of, the regionals was born from this ideal that St. Tiki had.
Were you at the first Flipside?
Yes, I was at the first Flipside.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I didn't work.
So the first regional, it's basically just a camp out. It's a bunch of friends.
We kind of thought of it as a practice burn, getting ready for Burning Man.
Yeah.
So St. Tiki had, his gig was Tiki Fest, Tiki parties. And so our camp was a Tiki camp at Burning Man. So it kind of started off with thinking as a practice, burn.
Got it. It's like just stress test the tents.
Yeah.
See, like make sure you know how to put it up and then get to the desert and then do it.
Yeah.
And so, it's a stress test. And now, there's a bunch of people that I've seen and known in my years here that have never been to Burning Man and just go to Flipside. And so, what do you think, what does that...
Well, I think a lot of people, this is their experience.
Yeah.
And whether it's a burner experience or just an alternative camping lifestyle, just like Burning Man, you do not see anything on the ground here, as far as trash or anything. And outside resources here that come in, the porta potty guy or the tow truck driver, they're like, it's amazing. You do not see a cigarette butt on the ground. And, they're used to other camping adventures.
I've actually never thought of other festivals that use porta potties and how much worse they are. I've always just been down on us, just myself.
Yeah.
And been like, this is garbage. It's terrible. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. If you're at Jay-Z concert or whatever, a huge festival, those must be terrible.
Yeah, then, the ground is littered with waste and paper cups and all of that. So that burner mentality, leave no trace, is very much ingrained in these people here who have no idea where the leave no trace concept came from.
Right.
They're just, I'm hanging out with some really cool people and seeing some cool art. That's an interesting dynamic of the regionals because you have people who've never experienced Burning Man, but they have a lot of experience with their local community.
Yeah.
And maybe got indoctrinated into the burner way.
The principles or whatever.
Right.
The themes.
Right.
The nudges, hey.
So, it's a different experience in the regionals. And I've been to several other regionals around the country. And, you see the same thing. Everyone's, to me, whether they've been to Burning Man or not, their experience and their lifestyle is pretty much identical wherever you go. It's like
no matter where you are, there you are.
I feel very comfortable where you end up.
And
I got involved early with the Flipside as somebody helped facilitate our annual town hall meeting.
Let's like break out kind of how Burning Man is different than Flipside just organizationally, because I personally think it's flat out amazing that it like nailed all the points that I had a problem with, that I still have a problem with Burning Man. So like, how does this work?
Well, we did structure Flipside and the community, which we call the Austin Artistic Reconstruction. It formed a LLC board that doesn't take ownership of the event. Legally, if you're on the board, you do own the event, but the pledge of the people who serve on the board is not. There's no financial gain. They
the
it's all
LLC
volunteer.
members buy tickets.
They buy tickets.
Yeah.
There's no free ticket.
There's two.
I was going to say there are 2 free tickets. Everyone else pays it.
So every single person here has paid a ticket.
Yeah.
LLC or random stranger that has never heard of it, everyone pays the same price.
And those 2 free tickets go to artists who designed the ticket art.
Yeah.
And they get to, not only have some art that everybody gets to see and touch and feel, but, it's like, well, thank you for contributing. And we've always want to contribute to art. The commonality of us in Burning Man is the blank canvas. Here's a space, come create. We're going to help facilitate that and keep you safe, but also enough hands off to where you can, screw up.
Yeah, and screw up hard sometimes.
Yeah. So we have learned lessons, and tried to temper the control factors, but be very subtle. For instance, propane art here, we don't have a certification process or a registration process per se. You have to get your art placed, but there's not somebody inspecting your propane art. What we expect is that you built it properly. If somebody feels like it's not built properly, one of us would go around and look at it, and then instead of saying, well, you can't burn that, we brought spare parts and said, let's help you
fix it.
get it to work.
Yeah.
So that's always been our goal, is to try to help the artists, make their art, vision and dream work.
Well, and that's kind of like what I saw between, like, say, DPW versus, like, Shaven Apes. The Shaven Apes at Flipside, their theme is, can I help you?
Yeah.
And they have yellow shirts, and there's bananas, and they just go around and just help people put stuff up. And they don't know who they're going to help. They're just random people. Like, is that heavy? Can I help you?
Yeah.
And it's very Texan. It's very, like, welcoming and
well, the fellow that started Shaven Apes is Unky Neil.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have a role or a hat. He wasn't a manager of some department and said, hey, I'm going to start this, Shaven Apes department. And we're like, go for it. He got volunteers together, and now it's a badge of pride to wear that yellow shirt.
Uh-huh.
And
kind of like DPW is all like, we have the black shirt with the orange dot, we're DPW, and the Shaven Ape is like, this is the same sort of pride, like, no, we do that. We're helpers, we're community builders.
So when it comes to the city infrastructure for Flipside, that department is city planning. So they kind of took on this more of a, what you would think of a city operations, a traditional, back home city. They took on that role and helped put up infrastructure, get the site prepped. So then they had a spin-off group called Site Prep. We got tons of poison ivy out here and lots of branches off the trees to pick up.
And someone was telling me that no one else uses this space.
That's correct. When we found this land, this is our third property that we're on.
I thought it was fourth. Okay.
When we found this land, another group was using the owner's developed park on the other side of the river. And when we came out to look at it and he was showing us that side, we were like, no, that's too close to the highway. And we want something more virgin. And he said, well, I have land on the other side of the river. So we came over here and we're like, this is perfect. We have an open area so we can build our effigy and burn it and other art. We got, the shade, which is glorious. We've got a water feature, the river, the San Gabriel. Currently, it's not flowing very well because of the drought. But when everything's good, we're out there swimming in the water. So it's really nice. So we put in the sweat equity into this land and developed it to meet our needs. I think that maybe have had one or two other, groups come out here to camp. But mostly everybody wants that developed side.
Yeah.
So this works out perfect,
Yeah, that's awesome. So just like backtracking, like how did you ever even like get involved with Burning Man culture? What was your first introduction to that?
I was dating Marvin Mauser, and before the Burning Man world, she was big into the Houston art car scene. So there was a natural progression there, or a relationship. She invited me to come out to a burn, and I jumped in it, feet first. And so that first year, I became a facilitator for the town hall meeting.
How does the town hall thing work?
Basically, our town hall was a way for people to sit down and decide the theme. We would have fun with having people present their idea of what the theme should be. And people, in the artistic way, did performance art and everything to convince us to, pick their theme. So that was one part of that. Another part was to talk about changes and things and processes. And then we actually then had our ticket process there. That's evolved now to a lottery system because of the demand. It was just a gathering. To get together, we usually picked a bar, someplace big enough to host us all. And I ran us through the agenda, and then I just kind of progressed into a leadership role. Here I am.
And so the town hall, like, everyone gets the email, everyone kind of shows up, people get on stage, and they're like, I think the theme should be this. I think the theme should be that. And then they vote. And there's like weird voting ways to vote.
Yeah, we came up with this 3-dot system. So we handed out dots to everybody, had big old butcher paper and the names of all the themes written down after whoever wanted to present. And then you could put all 3 dots on one theme, or you could spread them around.
Yeah. So you have 3 votes. It's kind of like, not ranked choice, but like voting with money, and you have 3 monies.
Right. That's kind of how our theme would evolve,
and that's how you get a free ticket. Is it just the ticket art, or is it the theme too?
Just the ticket art.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the theme, the person that comes up with the theme doesn't get a free ticket.
Oh, okay.
What they get is the glory of this event called whatever they came up with, and their theme, immortalized in some ticket art. We would have some fun, interesting presentations, maybe arguments like, no, you can't do that, say that.
What was one of the weirder presentations?
Oh, boy. An actual theme that won, but it took several tries, was Just Say No. Like no to the theme, no theme.
No theme.
So, that year we had, no was the theme. We also had Kip. He would always do something with the Golden Girls.
Yeah, B. Arthur's,
whatever, rodeo. And that's always been an interesting one that, would pop up. And then there's been, serious themes, things that are going on in the world. And that's kind of the catalyst of it. What we didn't want to have happen is, one person or one group deciding what is the theme.
Yeah.
This belongs to all of us, so.
Yeah, I think like the first meeting I ever went to was in like Doobie's sign shop or something.
Yeah.
And people were like, should we even call it Flipside? Or like, what is this thing? What are we going to do?
Yeah, that was really in the early years.
Yeah, I think 2001.
So the artist that invited us into his sign shop, one of the things he would do is hand us all some paint and a brush and some scrap pieces of wood, and we'd start making the street names. So the street names kind of were random at
Just
first.
Organic. If you showed up, you got to name a street.
Got to name a street.
Yeah.
And then it turned into, okay, well, maybe the names ought to correlate to the theme. And now it's turned into, it was a little bit of bureaucracy, and now there's a...
Well, if an ambulance needs to find someone, like, they do need to know where that person is hurt.
Yeah.
And if it's Chuckle Fuck Road, it might not be the best thing to put out on an ambulance call or something.
The staging of all of the infrastructure that we started to collect actually was stored temporarily at my house that I was renting with friends. And we would have, everyone show up and load up a truck and get the hell out, and then all that stuff would end up back at my place, and stuff that didn't get picked up, I had to, get thrown away. So eventually we progressed to getting a warehouse, and so we decided at one of those meetings to use some of the ticket money dedicated to the rent of a warehouse space. So we started off with some temporary space just to kind of test the water, and then that became kind of that maker space.
It was like a community space. Like there's every Wednesday or something like.
Yeah, every Wednesday
show up
night.
There's tools there. If you don't have tools, you can go use someone else's tools.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so our goal at first was to try to get a place for artists to build big art to bring to Flipside or to take to Burns. And then we started having workshops and people sharing skills. So we then started buying more assets or getting donation of equipment and tools. And you can go there and weld or, carpentry or sew. That church night became a sharing night. Like if I had an art project, I needed, say, 1,000 things glued down on something, I could bring all the stuff.
You have 60 friends that are going to make 1,000 things go real fast.
Let's drink some beers and shoot some whiskey and start gluing stuff.
So it's very much like a local, this is people in Austin, but of course people fly in from all over the place to do Flipside.
The cool thing about, too, if you were a burner or wanted to be a burn in the burn community and you moved to Austin and you heard about there were Austin burners, eventually they would say, do you guys meet? And we're like, hell yeah, Wednesday night, come out.
Go to church night. And that's exactly, I moved to Austin in 2001 and was not homeless really quick, but and it was an immediate, amazing, welcoming community. It was kind of when that was being built, and it's definitely impacted my life hugely. And I think it's awesome. It's this small thing, and people, Flipside is doing its thing, making people happy and changing the world one brain at a time. What's your name?
I'm Grandma.
Grandma.
Alexa.
And Alexa. And we're here at Burning Flipside, part of Wonder Lounge. How long have you been doing Flipside?
15 years.
Awesome.
At Wonder Lounge.
I'm going to go to the bar with Mom.
We're in there. My mom's not here, so I printed out a life-size poster board.
Oh, nice. First thing, I don't really have an interview packet, but have y'all been to the Big Burn?
I have not, actually.
I've been twice, and the first year I did nothing, and I was confused because I don't know how to do nothing at a burn. The second year I went, I was part of a team that brought out a giant, it was the honorarium project that year. So we got the Burning Man, the big grant, and got to get there early, and we were in between Center Camp and the Man. We were right outside Center Camp, and it was the Frabjus, the Cathedral of Celestial Mathchik. It was, so I was one of the 2 elders on that project.
Cool.
Trey Asters was the other one. The person that I was getting married to 1 week after that project, we got married also at Burning Man.
Nice.
But we also made that project.
Nice.
Yeah.
So no Burning Man hardcore, building crazy stuff.
But only for a very short time.
On the flip side, on the flip side, I have been to all of the small burns in Texas.
All of them?
Pretty much. I mean,
Which ones?
That's the problem. Burnt Soup.
Oh yeah.
What's the one that they stopped doing it? It's a month after.
Mischevia?
Mischevia, yeah.
Mischevia, but also
there was also. There's a lot of them that don't
Orphaner.
happen. Yeah, Orphaner. There's a lot that don't happen anymore.
Man, there's a little burn
there. But a lot of those small ones don't happen anymore.
I met Derek.
Yeah. Really? Orphaner? Oh my God. Derek's grandpa. He's my husband. I love Flipside, but Burnt Soup is my favorite. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know, it just the property too. I love that property, but I have these conversations. It's I love the energy release of Flipside. And you have that also with Burnt Soup, but it's definitely
small and personal.
It's personal. It's
really good.
It's good for my soul. It calms me down.
Connection is very high. It's very rich.
Some of the best connections I've ever had in my life have been from Burnt Soup.
So is that basically the difference between Burning Man and Flipside? Would be...
it's Burnt Soup and Flipside. Yeah, it's same. Yeah, it's smaller. It's on a beautiful property where there's outdoor showers and toilets and a pool. It's just really, really gorgeous. It's and it's a lot of old burners. It's mostly old burners that have been doing it for 20 plus years. Yeah.
Awesome. Do you have specific stories or anything crazy that happened, or if you were to tell your mom why Flipside is awesome, or a story or something? I don't know.
Yeah, there's lots of stories, but if I had to explain what I love about Flipside and burns in general, and then Flipside particularly, I'd say Flipside, there's something about Texan people, straight up. It's like, we're no bullshit, you know, say it as it is, but honesty and kindness mixed together, I feel like is very much Texas burners. But what Flipside means to me is we're the only people that use this property. We always have been. Flipside is the only rents this part of his property out to Flipside every year.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so the energy stays here. It's like, it feels really good. It is coming home. The complete just being a human and deciding whatever that means to you with the principles of, you know, consent and radical inclusion and all of that. It's a reminder of the real purpose of being here, you know, like what my true soul self is, getting away from all that shit. And I mean, it's like it felt like COVID years was kind of like that, you know, we had our pot of burners and every day was a little bit like a burn, but still wasn't the same. I thought it was the same and I came here and I'm like, was not the same, you know, was not the same.
Yeah, COVID, just everything is different now. And it's awesome to be back, and especially with Wonder Lounge. I've been on and off Wonder Lounging forever, since like 2004.
I love it. Well, so like, it's interesting. I was nervous with this Flipside because a lot of people, we haven't done this in 2 years, you know? I mean, 3 years, kind of. And I was like, we're gonna, like, what if we forget how to burn right? And, like, we fuck up and, like, you know.
Yeah, fucking up is kind of part of it.
I mean, yeah, exactly. You know, but then, of course, I get here and I'm like, my whole thing, I was like, I hope people are gonna be kind. Like, I hope we're all gonna be kind to each other and, like, be forgiving because we're gonna need it, you know? And of course, it's, like, beyond kindness. It's just, like, pure love, and it's been fantastic. Mm-hmm. Didn't have to worry about shit, you know?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people are very interested in, like, divisiveness as of late, and it's...
Yeah, we're in a way more polarized world.
Yeah.
Like, I was with Neighborhood yesterday, and Neighborhood?
Neighborhood?
Yeah, it's an LGBTQ camp right next to us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought it was Gayborhood.
Oh, no, Neighborhood, but they are very gay.
Okay, yeah, I got it. All right.
They're fantastic, and I had a fantastic conversation, right? I said, yes, ma'am, to somebody, and they were like, I'm a they, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. They're like, don't apologize, you know, and I'm like, man, you know, it's so much more polarized with LGBTQ things right now than it was the last time we burned.
And especially in Texas, like,
and especially
right now.
in Texas, yeah. I mean, I am not fucked up enough to even talk about women's issues, you know? Like, I can't. I just fucking can't.
Yeah.
I just fucking can't. Like,
part of the reason that I come out to these things is, like, I get worked up about all sorts of things all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And it's nice to just not do that at all.
Yeah. I love burners.
Yeah. It's very zen to, you have to be, like, in the now. Because, whatever you're trying to do, like, something's going to smack you in the face. And,
Alexa
like, you're just
and I are very similar in that, like, we're, like, doers. It's like, I want to be put to work. I want to, you know, create. I want to, like, be active. And because of the world we live in, we're always in that state. And and I love the creative vibe. We make shit happen. It's cool. But, like, I love that burns make me just... It's the quietest my mind will be all year, is at some point in the burn, you know? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, when it happens, I'm like, yes, you know? Yay, finally!
Yeah, I do this weird thing, like, I've pretty much unplugged from culture, and, like, the only media I get is stuff that I've chosen. So, like, when I'm in a hotel, I'm like, what is it that people watch when I turn on the TV? And in Austin... in our particular milieu, everything's
available.
Was garbage.
Yeah.
And, like, negative and bad. There's bad shit going on. And I was like, no, not right before Flipside. I really don't want to even fucking think about this. And that seems like kind of like denialism or like sticking your head in the sand.
There's no judgment on it, but we need every kind of person in this world, you know? And there's no wrong with it. Like, well, okay, here's my story, like the story of my life, straight up. Could be summarized in choosing to omit or change from within. So, like, I originally went to school for journalism, quit because I'm old, and it was when print journalism was dying and the internet was coming in. And I was like, how is this going to change? Like, I was like, what am I doing? You know? But also I was like, fuck this shit anyway, and I don't want to participate in this world. And so I had no bank account, no phone. I got rid of everything, and I lived in Hawaii for a year and did permaculture, woofing, and shit on farms. And I fell in love with design, and I wanted to design bigger and not just farms, but like cities. And so I was like, do I want to change it from within, or do I want to omit myself? You know, because that's the only options to change anything. The only way to move forward in this world is like, don't participate and make it run. Like, don't help it run, you know, or do something about it, you know, or like, don't. That's fine. But I didn't feel that way then, you know. But I chose to change it from within, and I'm glad I did. But I also definitely, I don't think I can do it forever. You know, I do urban design and mapping now and try to do it that way, but there's so much red tape and it's so broken that, you know, that was the biggest decision I ever made in my life. Like, more than marrying my husband, more than like anything I ever did, that was like the defining decision. And I didn't realize how much of it had to do with burner mentality of like not overthinking, just being in the now. It doesn't have to be black and white. It doesn't have to be like that. You know, it altered the course of my life, but it's not all there is anymore. It's not black and white like that. There's more than those decisions.
Well,
and the world that we're living in is harder and harder, and it's more and more clear that this is temporary and we're just on for the ride. And, you know.
So, but going from, say, college and career, like, how did you first hear about Flipside?
So I'm a San Martian, which is San Marcos, Texas. Don't move there, it's horrible. No, I tell everybody that because it's fucking amazing. I grew up in Austin, so like I was going to Eyore's when I was like in high school.
And that's Eyore's birthday?
Yeah.
Is that a festival? Because Austin just has a festival every 2 weeks.
Well, Eyore's was like, I mean, God, I was going there when I was like 14. You know, like I love Eyore's. And I met burners at Eyore's. And then when I went to live in San Marcos, I was in the Brown Eye community. From like 16 years old.
What's the Brown Eye community?
Brown Eye was a camp here at Flipside, a big sound camp up until Floodside.
We'll circle back to what is Floodside.
You don't know what Floodside is?
I was there.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm
for the
not
podcast, got it, yeah. Yeah, well anyway, Floodside killed us. We're retired, but we're still here. There's a Brown Eye flag up there somewhere. Mm-hmm. But Brown Eyes are a big San Martian crew, and I met them in Eyore's. Mm-hmm. And then we found each other again in San Marcos, and so I started burning with them when I was like 16.
Oh, you started when you were 16?
16, 17,
nice. Yeah, I went to my first burn
in San Marcos,
like
in San Marcos, not at Flipside, sorry. Smaller burns in San Marcos with burner crew, and then when I was allowed to go, then I went.
Were your parents aware of any of it?
I've always been honest with my parents, like straight up. They know everything. I had 2 felonies and 5 misdemeanors by the age of 17, and I went to college at 16 because I wanted to get out of the house, and I was known as like that girl that went to juvie, you know, in high school. So like
you definitely give
we
off
were
like
forced.
Prison vibes.
Yeah, thanks. It's so in there though, man.
Just happy.
No, I'm so glad it happened to me. I'm such a better person for it. I fucking love my history. I'm so grateful. But it was also because I was living in Williamson County, and if anyone knows Williamson County in Texas, it's like you can litter and you're going to jail. It forced my family and I to have radical honesty, and we always do. Like, I've talked to them about, you know, trips I've been on, like acid trips I've been on, and what I learned, and like it took a long time to get there, but we don't lie about it. We don't, like, my mom was like suicidal when I was a kid, and like I was in juvie, and like we've been through some shit, so we don't lie. So like my burn experiences, they're interested now to like know what I've learned in my burn and how it's changed my spirituality, and like they're very my mom particularly, but yeah, both of them, they're very spiritual people, and
my mom is too.
Yeah, and they don't like hearing about like the drugs that I do with it. I don't always start there, you know, but like they like the conversations about how it's made me grow, and it's like they're almost there. It's like they'll understand it to a point, and then because they didn't take acid, you know, or mushrooms or whatever, then they can't completely follow it. But they like it. They're interested. They want to hear it. So, you know.
Yeah, I was fortunate that like my mom was doing acid. She told me about it. She was the rebel, and then I was the offspring of the rebellion. So like I landed pretty softly in that way. But very similarly, my mom was suicidal for most of my teenage years. It definitely forced me to grow up different.
Yeah, I mean, that's also another reason I left.
The radical
early.
self-reliance.
Yeah. I mean, I literally, the only way I could leave home is to go to, they're like, the only way we'll let you leave early is if you go to college. And I was like, okay.
Okay, college it is.
So I did. It's the only way, so okay. It's hilarious. They didn't think it would happen, and of course, and then they realized the kind of person I am.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have had their parents, like, really try and force them to do a thing. They're like, you're my kid, this is the image that I had of a kid, you're not it, you're letting me down. And then after a couple years, they kind of just accept it.
Well, I mean, I let them down so early. I went to juvie at 13. I let them down so early that they had no expectations after that. They were like, I'm so glad you're alive and not in jail. That's great. And like,
lowering the bar.
And now I'm like, hey, I make really good money. I have a great career. I'm happily married, and birds are awesome. They're like, okay, I'll listen. Like,
that's awesome. So, for people that don't know, so Austin, Texas, Eyore's birthday.
It's Eyore from Winnie the Pooh. It's his birthday. He's the depressed one, and we're all celebrating him because he deserves it.
And like, pretty much, it's a huge. How many people do it?
Too many. Too many now. When I was in high school, it was smaller. But
So it's kind of like a small like festival just in Austin.
Downtown Austin at Peace Park.
Yeah, it's in downtown.
Yeah.
Is it in the Greenbelt?
At Peace Park.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And so that's like half burner. That's like definitely like
There's a lot of
good
burners
way
that
to
go.
like figure that out and like.
It's a place
and
that makes
find the-
space for people to express themselves through creating like an idea and running with it.
But like in the middle of city where no one can like turn their blind eye. You know, they're like we're kind of in their face, but like hidden a little bit.
Great.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that's sometimes what the only venue people have for that like experience. Like that is Eyore.
Well, that's all I knew about originally. You know,
I worked
that's
at the Renaissance Fair, so that's where I got my costume. I was like, yo, here's the context. And then it was Goth Industrial Clubs, because it was like, you can also costume on Mondays.
Oh man, the
Like
punk scene, the
KMFDM
punk scene.
and-
Yeah.
Punk scene for me in high school and middle school was definitely like my first, I guess before Eyore's, that was my first major outlet. Because growing up in Austin, all the music that was available, and it was great.
Awesome. So you've never been to the Burn. Did you go to Burning Man first, or did you go to Flipside?
No, I went to Flipside first.
Yeah.
And then I went to Burning Man, and I was just like I was part of a camp, which was the Charlie, who just Black Hat.
Yeah.
Like, I was part of that camp.
He's from Georgia.
Which is also, is also Wonder Lounge.
Yeah.
The bar is Wonder Lounge. It's the original Wonder Lounge. That's where Eric and Angelique actually met. And then they've gotten married, and then they were the mom and dad of the camp. Mm-hmm. Like, they were the enforcers. And now this year's the first year that they're not here because they moved to Oregon. And so Christine picked it up, and they were like, Christine, do you want this mantle? And she was like, fuck no! Okay, I'm doing it, guys!
Like,
But she's so good at it.
like, do you want to do it? No. Well, are you sure that someone else won't fuck it up?
Will anyone else do it as good as you? No.
Right,
Well, like,
exactly. That's how
What do you
roasted
need
this
from us
case.
now? Yeah.
We're
What can we do?
definitely a matriarch society here.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
it's
big
me, Christine, Ellen,
Angelique, and
and Angelique passed it to all of us.
Yeah.
You know,
Huge.
AJ's the other guy. He's the guy in there.
AJ's my spirit animal.
Yeah. He keeps us reasonable.
Oh.
Yeah.
So how many Flipsides have you been to?
6.
6.
Yep.
Okay.
15.
15 over here.
Well, no, because 2 years there was
She's older than
pandemic.
she looks.
I am. I'm going to be 45.
Flipside at home. So yeah, so this is Wonder Lounge. It's one of the oldest camps. We're doing
20 years this year.
Yeah, 20 years.
It's our Roaring 20s party tonight.
So how do you see like the interplay between like regionals and Burning Man? Like you've been to Burning Man, been to here.
I felt like this is a lot more personal. So yesterday we were swimming in the creek, which is a bad idea yesterday, but today I think it's okay. Bad idea. I know. You told me that yesterday too, and you know what? I still did it anyways.
Is that markers? Are those the markers of your bad ideas?
No, that's just a ruler.
How big of a bad idea is this? Well, it's about 2.5 inches.
I think I'll need a yardstick.
It's like 3/16 of a bad idea. Let's go for it.
No, this started. I had a Sharpie and I wanted to like measure stuff because I was on shade. And so
Those are all- it
sounds like
I
a
marked
good
off a couple
idea.
things with a Sharpie, and then people were like, "What's that?" And I was like, "Oh, it's how far up my manager's ass I can get my fist." And so I started like having names for ticks. on my arm.
Yeah.
And then and it got out of hand and went up my neck and then down the other arm. And I'm like, yeah. No, I grab onto a rope with this one and I just fucking go straight in. And then the furthest one was Cobra. It's that's how far into an ass I can get.
Wow.
And then I was like, actually, having a tattoo of actual measurement might be handy. And then the other guy, DJ, that actually does the podcast, he stole my idea and got this tattoo as well.
Nice.
He claims he thought of it first, but
I know somebody else who has some different sized nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
And also measurement of one ruler because she was the other person on the.
I don't have that.
I don't like straight lines on a human form.
Yeah.
I feel like it's incongruous.
So early Flipside, any particular things that just made you kind of drop and go, oh, this is it.
What was ridiculous was that me and Christine got to our first burn 5 minutes late, and they did not let us in the gate. And we were like, wow, y'all are serious about this shit. And then we had to sleep outside. And someone came up to us and they were like this. The first time.
Well, that was the first time, but not the last.
That was the first time. No,
Not
I know.
the last time?
I can't get anywhere on time. I really try really hard.
I know. You try so hard.
I do. I really do. But this candy raver came up to us and she was like, "Hi, my name is Sparkle Pony and I camp at Lip Lick and Suck." And I was not in the mood for it. And I just rolled up my window, asshole. And I was like, I'm just going to bed because I'm disgruntled. And then me and Christine slept outside of the gate. And then we were like, actually, I want to go back to Austin and buy some more stuff. And so we could have gone home and slept in our own beds if we were going to go all the way back there anyways, but we didn't.
You just went
We slept in the car and then came back in anyways. But what I loved about it is I love the sense of humor, the sense of absurdity and ridiculousness that Flipside specifically brings. And it's we're not trying to be highfalutin art. We're trying to have fun with growth and exploration and creation. And it's not always going to be pretty, but it's going to be fun and it's going to be funny as fuck.
And it might hurt.
It's definitely, there's going to be a hurt.
The fire ants suck.
The poison. There's a lot of things about this that sucks, but we all enjoy doing it because it's a joy that we bring with that sense of absurdity of doing it the way we're doing it.
Do you want to send words to the internet at large? You want to tell the internet what for?
I would say, get out of your house, experience humanity, calm the fuck down. Radical inclusion is the only way forward. It's the only way to get women's rights, at least.
Yeah, compassion and connection is the only way forward. We could be pissed and we could ban things and we try that, but the truth is cultural change is fucking slow. So we need to just find the ways we can fill up in our culture so that we have the patience and the resilience to continue affecting cultural change. Mm-hmm. It's a long game.
And having a big 5-day party.
That's right. That fills me the fuck up. I can do it the rest of the year now.
Yeah.
With some compassion and understanding and patience.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
One year at Burning Man, I'm sitting in a camp talking to folks, and here comes, 10 people dressed as crows, a murder of crows, with very elaborate costumes. But they all had these personalities of different birds, and they would walk into your camp and start pecking at your stuff. And turning over chairs and everything, like you would imagine a bird to do.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really neat because you couldn't look at a person, you saw a bird, a life-size bird. And these people then just walked on and went to the next camp. There was no, hey, you can't do that, Here, it's a little bit more personal. We're smaller.
It's definitely more personal, and you see the same people day after day. Whereas Burning Man, I've made the best friend of my life one night, and then I never see them again.
Pissed off 10 people, in a glorious way.
God bless it, they'll never be able to find me
again.
They'll never be able to find me.
That's just part of, I guess, a learning experience for everyone. to do that, accept the radical self-expression. That is not something that is instilled in us in a very structured, organized world that we try to live in.
Yeah.
In the default world. And you come here and you try to break those barriers, knock down those walls. It's hard for some people to accept those things, even though they say, I'm very open-minded.
Valuable things are hard sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, a lot of things are hard that are valuable. You should still do the hard thing.
I think we've all had that here, that opportunity, whether you choose to accept that change or to be involved or to say, it's a one-off thing. And I even, when I was on the board here, I had a hard time.
The LLC?
The LLC. Mm-hmm. I had a hard time with, because I kind of grew up, black or white, no gray.
Right.
And, my idea was, okay, if you make rules, then you got to enforce them.
And then you got to, those are the rules.
Or else don't make a rule, but then understand the consequences of no rule. I had to learn how to balance that. And so I was grateful for the fellow board members who helped, grow me, even though I had some management experiences they might not have had.
Yeah.
So all together, you use the community and the consensual concepts of working together, then you can have fun, have success, and let people have their way in that radical self-expression. But we've had a very good relationship with Burning Man, still do. We do, share a lot of thoughts and ideas together. We do see Burning Man folks actually come here and treat this as their burn.
Yeah.
Because they're busy working at Burning Man.
Yeah. You get a lot of people that work in the office at Burning Man or do box office and they just want to go to an event and have fun.
Yeah.
And so they come to Flipside.
So about 20 years ago, we decided to train up our safety crews, get better prepared to working together because, you kind of get in a box. You got the fire team, you got rangers, you got medical, you got sanctuary, you got, our perimeter guardians. And we decided to do a weekend camp out here a month prior to this event and kind of talk about how we're going to operate and work together.
And have a camp out.
And
get to know people and
Yeah. Well, now Burning Man has sent some of their people to that event, which we call it Safetyside, spin off of Flipside.
Yeah.
And now we've invited other regional safety leaders to come and learn how to do their own safety side. We've already, just on the safety aspect, helped populate the burner world with this information. So like I was saying, at Burning Man, those same kind of like-minded people get together for about an hour during Burning Man. I work with Stephen Raspa out there, and we get people together to talk about how to do some of the things and upcoming events and times, the training, and some, cool concepts that everybody can share. And I probably wouldn't be in that leadership role if it weren't for the experiences out here.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a 5-day event, and it seems like, okay, you have a party, but it's way more than that. It's community, it's stuff you do at home, it's careers, it's life, it's much more than just 5 days.
And then we get to bump into each other randomly.
I know.
You and I.
And I haven't seen you in so long. It was so good to see you.
Several years, not pandemic or not.
Yeah.
And, so that's why we always say welcome home.
I told my girlfriend has never been to Flipside. They're just going to say welcome home a lot. You can roll your eyes. It's okay. We're both little crusty punk rockers. And they're like, your niceness. Bleh. I'm like, no. You'll get it. You'll get it.
That was Xeno and people from Texas.
How many?
2,000.
2,000.
So it was 2,000 this year. There were a lot of people that I was actually surprised at how many people didn't know what the hell they were doing and showed up.
Good.
There's a lot of old camps. The camp that I camped with celebrated their 20-year anniversary this year. So
nice.
Wonder Lounge. And so there's people that know their shit, but they haven't done it in 2 years. So it's definitely knocking the cobwebs off stuff and looking at parts and being I'm not sure I know where this part goes. Thing. And of course, some people just didn't come out because of fear of COVID, and that some people like literally got COVID positive tests like the day they were supposed to go out. And so it was definitely maybe not a stutter step, but like a reawakening. Like it's a germination. You definitely see like the sprouts popping through the soil. So it wasn't like a full fledged because Texas passed a law called the Rave Act. So if you have any gathering more than 5,000 people, shit gets super onerous. And so
They think raves are usually 5,000 people.
something like that. I don't know.
I love that they blame raves for football events.
What a stupid 90s thing to do.
No, come on, guys. We have to stop the scourge of raves. If we don't, you'll be hearing jungle music everywhere.
Sometimes people overheat on club drugs.
Yes.
Give them water.
Exactly. The
Shut
reason
down
that
your
they use.
department.
Yeah. And so there's a cap at 2,500 that kicks in, and there's a few more things like you have to have more cops or more something.
Oof.
But they didn't hit that this year, so it's 2,000, so it's pretty chill. But the people that brought their A game really did bring their A game. I was amazingly just like gobsmacked impressed by a camp called FU Telecom. And they had a giant like silver bus and like all this equipment. We walked past it, and they just had a video projector of like cat videos from YouTube, but they just had it playing 24/7.
Yeah.
That drew me in.
Yeah.
But then like I was like,
As
so
we
what
should.
the fuck do you guys do? And they're like, oh, we set up like a telephone network for theme camps. And I was like, the fuck you do? And
They were like, yes.
yeah, exactly. And so I talked to the guy that actually runs it because, like, I was like, what do you do? And he's like, tell me about yourself. Because he needed to modulate what he was going to say to
Smart
where
man.
I was at. And I said, I have RTFM tattooed on my shoulder. It was the first tattoo I ever got. And he's like, okay, sit down. He's like, I'm a hardware guy. You're a software guy. We should talk. But he set up a bunch of independent routers that were battery powered as a mesh network across the entire campsite and used voice over IP and then handmade circuitry for old style telephones like princess phones.
Oh, cool.
And
Wow.
gave them to 10 different theme camps.
That is so
and
That's adorable.
Yeah, and so you could like go off hook and hit a number between 0 and 9 and just call a random theme camp and have a conversation.
Aw, that's lovely.
I want that for the neighborhood.
I know, right?
Yes.
So that blew my mind. They started doing that literally the year after the last time I was at Flipside. And yeah, I got to run into Meredith, an old friend of mine. She's not old, but she's like, hey, yeah, how you doing? Yeah, I'm a little lighter now, and showed me her hand, and like she was missing like a digit and a half of one of her fingers.
Oh, wow.
That's a fun way of explaining that.
And I was like, what happened? She's like, I was at a petting zoo. I got too close to the goats. I'm like, bullshit. She's like, yeah, it is bullshit. A cop shot it off. And I was like, that's bullshit too. She's like, no, this guy tells the story. And she left. And the guy's like, oh yeah, no, she was a medic at a protest, at a Black Lives Matter protest.
Oh, wow.
And she went, like someone had gotten hit in the face with like a beanbag or one of those things that's not lethal.
Less lethal round.
Right. And so she ran up, and there's a thing that medics do where they put their hands up and kind of cross them like, hey,
You're
this is a medic.
saying I'm a medic,
And
visibly.
evidently, like a cop like looked at her, took aim, and shot her in the hand.
Oh, my God.
She lost a digit?
Yes.
To that highway patrol officer who took a picture of the Accuracy Third logo on the side of my truck after you pulled me over, this is why we fucking hate cops.
Fuck cops to death.
I really
Except the guys that arrested the Patriot Front.
They get a
They get
2-week
they get a temporary pass.
2 weeks.
Look, man, a D- is passing, but you shouldn't be proud of it.
I would like to point out the incredible processing that it takes to be like, I'm going to joke about this. I'm going to joke about this, but like, I'm passing this the fuck off. This person knows this story. I am done
Yeah.
dealing
I'm sure
with
she
this.
has told it many times. And I haven't
Right?
seen her in forever. And yeah.
No,
she-
I love that. If you are a person who has a like visible like trauma, I highly support you having a friend that you can just be like, hey, I'm walking away. You
Download
tell
that
this.
story to Beth.
Yeah.
Rope Beth into
No,
telling your
not
stories.
me.
No.
it's a
Rex
democracy.
does enough for me.
I will be yours, DJ.
Thanks, Beth.
There was something that from one of your interviews that I wanted to just touch on and ask you about. The Shaven Apes.
Oh, yeah.
You talked about their very Texan helpfulness.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there's like a regional flavor of a southern burn versus a mountain west burn.
Definitely. It's hospitality.
Yeah.
It's, if you're broken down on the side of the road, they'll come change your tire for you, even if you have fucked up hair. Like, they're just generally kind. As broad strokes, there's obviously ones that aren't, but like that's the general culture is if you can help someone, do it.
Warm.
Yeah. I feel like the big Nevada burn has like a total spirit of giving and helpfulness. Like you can find community solutions to your problems if you look. I think it's the look that is the difference. Like no one is going to like charge you and say, hey, what's going on? How can I help? But everybody is going to pitch in if you simply ask.
Well, I think the difference is that Shaven Apes is a department and people have volunteer shifts and they wear the shirt and they walk around
and are looking
and
for
say,
people to help.
And they look at someone struggling to put up a shade structure and like, hey, here we go. I'll help you. And like, that's their job. And if you find someone with a radio, like we needed to do that with our tent raising because it takes 20 people. At one point, you don't need 20 people the whole time, but at the raising part, you need 20 people, everyone on a certain...
Bring out the Amish.
Yeah. And so, we just got on the radio, and 5 Shaven Apes showed up, and they held those poles, and we got it up, and they're like, okay, cool, thanks, see you later. And that's just... So DPW is not that.
No.
DPW builds what the org needs.
The infrastructure.
And generally says... No, we're too tired to help you. And also, who the fuck are you?
Who the fuck are you?
Yes.
I kind of wonder if Rangers wouldn't have developed a little bit more in that direction if their presence as cop substitutes wasn't mandated by the people with guns.
I think it's really interesting the difference between these kinds of Rangers and these kinds of Rangers might honestly be like size.
It's true, too.
Like, I think the heart and soul of the Rangers is... Like, obviously, they have this ethico-aesthetic that is do nothing, be around. But, like, it is, can I help you?
Yeah.
But you can't do that in a situation with 70,000 people the same way you can with 2.
Yeah.
Well, that's
the size
definitely
is hugely important.
Yeah.
All of this.
And that's definitely part of the Ranger ethos is to like get involved in the community and like help.
But they're not
out
going to put up
in
your
any
shade structure.
They absolutely will if
actually,
like, the situation
Yeah.
is there.
As a shade person, so there are DPW Rangers.
I've met one or two.
We've probably talked about it before,
Yeah.
there are Rangers that are tasked specifically to Ranger DPW, and they're awesome. Because DPW tends to get into some altercations sometimes. And so they're like elite Rangers. They really have to know how to talk to us because it's a specific thing. And just about every single one of them has done a day building shade. Because a lot of the time during the day when everyone's working, there aren't that many problems.
Yeah.
We're not drinking and getting in fights until 5 o'clock. Per the rules. And so during the day, they just kind of drive around and, they're curious about what we're doing and it helps them connect with the community at large of DPW. So they actually do quite a bit of help.
And that is kind of like your average dirt ranger's purview is like whatever is going on in the city, you just pitch in and be helpful and friendly and present.
That's funny. I didn't know that it's like, hey, you're setting up. Do you need help setting up?
That's not necessarily like what their orders are, but I think those are the type of people who go into the Rangers. Because it started as like a search and rescue organization, I wonder if it would have become more like generally assistance focused if it weren't for the mandate to be more human security focused.
Yeah. The thing that I have done, I have been a ranger. A ranger bunny fuck, so that no one can call me on the radio. And in the past, at Flipside 2001 through 2004, I would have a shift for burn night during the burn because I didn't give a fuck about burns. And I figured other rangers probably did, so I could alleviate one person's obligation and they could go have fun and get high and do stupid shit while I held down the fort. So that was kind of fun.
It's a good reason to do a perimeter shift.
I would sometimes, when I was still a ranger, skip the perimeter shift and patrol the city so that other rangers could do the perimeter shift, which is nice. Sometimes.
And that was Grandma and Alexa, and for a
Allegedly.
very short time, Grandpa, but also Sparky. Well, I want to go to Flipside this year. I'm going to try to go to Flipside this year. I was just invited to go to Flipside this year.
That is a brave move, my friend. You're
Thank
going
you.
to like willingly and with full foresight go to Texas.
If we drive down to Texas, that's going to be a thing. If we fly into Texas and go to a burn that way, that's going to be a thing.
I will go to a burn in Texas. That's a thing. I'm open to this concept. I am not driving through Texas ever.
That's a good point.
Again.
I am tan enough that I ought not be driving through Texas.
Texas is 7,000 miles in every direction.
Deep?
In every direction.
You know, the abuse of friends comes from people they know more often than the people that they don't know. So I'm if something's going horribly wrong at Flipside,
Look, at this time next year, or maybe sooner, maybe by the end of season 6, we will all find out what happened at Flipside. Season 6, the season of Flipside.
Yeah, that's
unless you just go have a boring time, you're just like, it's fine.
Yeah, something I cut out of the episode that I could have left in, but I was sick of listening to our friend talk with his friends. It turns out that Cobra Commander goes to Flipside to, like, relax because he spent so long, like, working his ass off at the Big Burn. So if any of our listeners happen to know Cobra Commander, please have him reach out to us. We would love to interview him about his experience. Accuracy Third is produced by pint glasses full of weird, non-liquor laden marijuana juice.
yeah.
The music in this episode is by that damned band.
Damn band again.
Same track as the last episode. So go over to their website.
It's a good track.
It is a good track. Download it. Download the rest of their songs, like of the best drinking songs bands this side of the Atlantic from the Pogues.
Do it slap? I couldn't say. Do it bang? It do. It bangs.
I've been a photographer, and I used to come out in the early years of Flipside and take cool pictures, with permission.
Yeah, I think that was the context that I met you at, was that you were a photographer.
But then at some point, I just got to thinking about that experience, the now concept of, Burning Man, and I found that it was more enlightening and better to tell the story of what I saw rather than show them a picture. Because I'd have your attention span for maybe, 5-10 seconds. But now you're sitting with me for 30 minutes listening to me tell what I saw. What a great connection.
Yeah, I've had some of the most amazing conversations with, complete strangers or old friends at Flipside, and it's hard to translate that into a recorded medium.
Yeah.
But I wanted to kind of, share that with people, and I know that Damien, my friend, would value it. Damien should come to Flipside. He didn't, and he's a wuss. So, whatever.
But